Good morning. Here is our objective for the day. I will be able to graph a line using x and y intercepts. So we're going to be looking at equations that are in standard form today instead of in slope-intercept form, and we're going to be able to graph pretty much just as easily in that form. So first of all, let's talk about intercepts. We know the y-intercept. We've talked about this a lot. It's our b in our slope-intercept equation. That's our y-intercept. But we haven't talked about the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is the coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. And the y-intercept is the coordinate of a point where the graph crosses the y-axis. So if you're looking on a graph, this point right here is the x-axis. It's going to be some number and then 0. And this point right here is going to be the y-axis. It's going to be 0 and then some number. So we're going to be using these points to graph equations. So first, a thing about standard form. Standard form is written like this: a number times x plus a number times y equals a number. For example, 3x plus 2y equals 6, or 8x minus 6y equals 38, or 1/2, in standard form you try not to have fractions, so let's do 10x minus 3y equals -10. These are all in standard form. So you have something with an x, and then adding or subtracting to something with a y equals a number all by itself. So A and B cannot both be 0. For example, you can't have like 0 equals 2. That's not an equation in standard form. The x and the y terms are on the same side of the equal sign, and the constant, or a number by itself, is on the other side. A, B, and C are integers, meaning that they're not fractions. And the way we can eliminate fractions is to multiply by the denominator. No fractions or decimals, and usually the x term, or the first number, is positive. Although traditionally meaning generally, but it's not a super hard rule. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple more notes. When we want to find the y-intercept, we're going to let y in the equation equal 0, and then we are going to solve for x. So because the x-intercept is when y equals 0, we can set y equal to 0 and solve for x. Same thing for the y-intercept. Let x equal 0 and solve for y. Because the y-intercept is when it's 0 and then a number. Okay, so let's look at our first example. We have this equation, 2x plus y equals 6. Now, we could turn this equation into slope-intercept form, which you have either seen really recently or you will see really soon. We could do this and get y equals -2x plus 6 and graph that way. Totally allowed, totally appropriate. If you're comfortable doing that, do that. But there's a different way, and I'm going to show you that different way, just so you have multiple options. So first, we want to find the y-intercept, so we're setting y equal to 0. So I'm taking my equation, 2x plus y equals 6. I'm setting y equal to 0, and I'm solving for x. So I get 2x equals 6. I can divide by 2, and I get x equals 3. So the x-intercept is, we can just put 3. The x-intercept is 3, and it goes through the point 3, 0. So the y-intercept is the same thing, but the opposite. We want to set x equal to 0. Just think about, if you want to find the y-intercept, you want to solve for y, so you need the other thing to be 0. So x is 0. This is 0 plus y, so y equals 6. The y-intercept is 6, and the graph passes through point 0, 6. So what we would do, I realize you don't have a graph for this one, but that's okay, is on your graph you would find the point 3, 0, and the point 0, 6, and then that would be your line. And you'd be done. We're going to do that for the next one. Here are the directions: find the intercepts, plot the intercepts, and then draw a line. So the first thing we're going to do is find the x-intercept of this equation here. So when we want to find the x-intercept, we set y equal to 0. So I have 8x minus 4 times 0 equals negative 16. This becomes 0. So I get 8x minus 0 equals negative 16. 8x equals negative 16. Divide by 8. That makes a giant 1. This makes 2. I get x equals negative 2. There we go. So we plot the point, negative 2, 0. For the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. So 8 times 0 minus 4y equals negative 16. Okay, so we have this is 0 minus 4y equals negative 16. Negative 4y equals negative 16. We want y by itself, so we're going to divide by negative 4 to make a giant 1. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we get y equals 4, and it's positive because negative divided by a negative is positive 4. Y-intercept is 4. That point is 0, 4, because x is 0, y is 4. We have a table here to plug these numbers in just so we are really clear that this is the x-intercept and this is the y-intercept. And we're going to plot those on the graph here, negative 2, 0, and 0, 4. And there's our line. Just to check our steps one more time, x-intercept, set y equal to 0, and solve for x. Y-intercept, set x equals 0, and solve for y. Then you have 2 points to plot. The very last thing is just, if you're looking at a graph, identifying the intercepts. We have an intercept here and here. Our axes are x and y. The x-intercept is right there, which is 2, or as a coordinate 2, 0. The y-intercept is 4, or as a coordinate 0, 4.